Hi guys, I'm Anita and I'm back with another video, and today it's time for my weekly updates. I have decided to call them Monday reads now because it's just like Friday reads but on a Monday, where I talk about the books that I've been working on over the past week, what I finished, did I meet my goals, and what I'm planning on reading over the next week, and what I'm currently reading, which is all just like the Friday reads videos. First things first, how many books did I finish over the past week and did I meet my own goals? That is the first question. And firstly, I ended up reading a total of 1,305 pages, which equals to about 186 pages per day. I have put down that I finished 3 books, but in honesty, one of them I finished this morning and it's Monday, so technically I only finished 2 books. But I'm gonna count the third finish this week because I'm not gonna talk about next week because I finished it this morning. And yeah, so the first thing that I finished over the past week was Stolen Time by Dianne Rollins. This is a 2019 release and it is a time travel book, and for me it works for my o.w.l.s set in the future because this is set in a futuristic, it's partly set in a futuristic Seattle after a lot of earthquakes and stuff has ruined things, and floods and stuff has changed how New Seattle is looking. But it is a time travel book, so it also travels back in time to places that we know of, and they're trying to change things in order for it to change the future as they know it, their future or their present time. I honestly never really got into this book. I don't think it was a very well told story. I didn't really care much about the characters at all. One of the things that I didn't like about the time travel aspect, or the messages that they came through, is that there is always a purpose. And so if they try to change the past to save someone, that someone would die anyway. And I guess I understand it, but on the other hand, I don't know, it just didn't work for me. I'm not saying that everything should work so that you can go back and change the history. But I don't know, there was just something about this whole thing that didn't work for me. So I ended up giving it 2.5 stars, or 2 stars. I haven't really decided on that yet. But I am happy that I finished it anyway, and I don't have to think about it anymore, and it fit an o.w.l. So the next book that I also finished was one I didn't expect to finish this one, and It Ends With Us by Colleen Hoover. I had expected to maybe get a couple hundred pages into this one, but I ended up finishing it on Wednesday, and this one got me through a lot of emotions. This is a book that deals heavily with abuse and talks a lot about abuse and how every abusive situation is different. You cannot compare 2 abusive relationships and say it's the same and say that they need to do the same things in order to get out of it, because as I said, everything is different. And I enjoyed that message that came through with it, and that it wasn't always so easy to get out of these abusive relationships as it may seem. And I like the fact that the author's note by the end was by Colleen Hoover, was saying that it was something that was close to herself because her parents went through what these characters went through. So she took her own parents' story and made it into this book. So it's really close to her own personal experience, and for me that made this book even better. And I was so immersed in the story. I absolutely was furious at points in this book because of the things that the abuser did, and I was afraid that it would end up with the main character choosing that person. And there were so many places in this book that I was unsure how this would go and how it would end. But I actually liked how Colleen Hoover, I really liked how Colleen Hoover wrote this book, and And I was in it for the whole thing, and the ending made up for everything, in my opinion. I think she solved it so well, and I understand why so many people love this book. I have been a bit apprehensive with Colleen Hoover books before, because I think that sometimes she writes a relationship that are very toxic. And yeah, this one was definitely toxic, but it was on purpose, and I think that made it a different experience for me. And I definitely end up really loving this and gave it 5 out of 5 stars. It's one of my favorite reads of the year. I don't know what it is about these hard-hitting contemporaries this year, but this one was really, really good. And the last and final thing that I finished this morning was Night Broken by Patricia Briggs, the 8th book in the Mercy Thompson series. As I said, I finished it this morning, so I didn't technically finish it last week. But oh my god, I loved it. I was so close to finishing it last night, but I was so tired and couldn't. Oh, this book is so good. I loved it. I loved every minute of it. I flew through it. I think I read 200 of the pages yesterday. As I was also social with other people. It just, whenever I sat down to read it, I ate it up. And Mercy is just such an incredible character, and I think that she keeps developing in every book, and this one was no different. I think you've learned a lot more about her walker history every time you learn something new about that ability. And I love the pack dynamics and how everything is changing. And I think there's so many moments in this book that I absolutely adored, and I like Mercy and Adam is my favorite OTP. But I think Patricia Briggs handles it in a good way, and I loved all of the new things we explored in this one. Also, the main villain was a completely new species that we didn't know about before, and I thought it was really interesting trying to figure out what that was. So I absolutely love this one. I gave it 5 out of 5 stars. It's definitely one of my favorites in the series so far. I don't know. All of these books are really, really great. Yeah, can't wait to read on in this series soon. Yeah. If you haven't started this series already and you like urban fantasy, what are you waiting for? So those are the 3 things that I finished over the week. Now I'm going to be talking about the things that I've been working on and I'm close to finishing, or pretty close to finishing anyway. The first thing that I am in the middle of is Kinks of the Wild by Nicholas Eames. I am on page 312, and I sort of started putting in tabs like along the way when I stopped listening. I just sort of forgotten that the past couple of days when I've stopped. But I'm planning on trying to finish this today, since I have this day off as well. I'm going to do a couple of things at home that I think I can listen to the last 3 hours of this. Otherwise, I'll finish it tomorrow. I am enjoying this one. I think this time around I'm enjoying it a lot more. I heard a lot of different opinions flying at me as I was trying to read this last year, and I don't know if that affected my reading of it. So that's, I guess, why I put it down in the first place. And I'm happy I'm trying to give it another shot. I really like the audio, and I like the fact that we are following mercenaries that are a little bit rusty, so it's not your typical band of heroes. And I definitely like Gabriel and Morg. I think Clay is a little bit annoying, and he's the one we're seeing this from, but I think that at least Clay and Morg are some really great characters. I'm looking forward to seeing where this is all gonna end up, and yeah. So that is this one. Another book that I am working on and I'm close to finishing is The Rook by Danielle O'Malley. I have 110 pages left of this one, so I'm definitely planning on trying to finish it this week. If I put down 15 pages per day, I would finish this easily by Sunday, so that's not that bad. This one is still a lot of fun to read. It's definitely different than other urban fantasies I've read, and that's what makes this really interesting. And it's definitely coming down towards the end. Something is happening at the moment that is really intriguing, and I can't wait to see what's going to happen to Mifani, who is our main character. The next books that I put down to finish next week are books that are new, and to my TBR, but to my reading. And the first one of those is Don't Let Go by Harlan Coben. This is my genre TBR book of the month, and this also will complete my owl for contemporary, because this is a contemporary set suspense novel set in a small town in present time. So it works for the Muggle study owl. The Rook will finish my red on the cover. Owl, so the Transfiguration owl. Nightbroken was my potions owl, so that completes a sequel, which was the sequel, so that completes that owl. So I am down to, I have finished 8 owls now, close to finishing the 9th one, and so I have 3 owls left to read over the next week. Next week and 2 days. I'm pretty confident I can do this, but let's see. So apart from Don't Let Go, I've put myself down to finishing Grey's Sister by Mark Lawrence next week. It's not part of my owls, but it is part of the BookTube SFF Awards, and I've really wanted to read this, and I'll start this after I finish Don't Let Go. So I hope I'll get through this one, and I'm looking forward to see how this is gonna go. I really liked the first one, so I'm very eager to see how this one will go. The next book that I have put down to read is The Calculating Stars by Mary Robinette Kowal. This is 416 pages, so it's a bit long. 421 pages, I think that's the number of pages. I've put myself down to try and read 94 pages today, and then 50 pages over the next 4 days until the weekend, and I think that is doable. The font seems to be a little bigger, so it's not going to be taking me too long, I hope. I'm really looking forward to reading this, and hopefully I'll really enjoy it and I'll fly through it, and this won't even be a problem to finish by the end of the week. So those are all of the things that I definitely want to finish next week. I've also tentatively put down some pages for The Poppy War by R.F. Kuang, and or Poppy War, I'm trying to maybe listen to a half an hour every day of the audio of that, so I don't have too much left when I go into next week. And I have put down maybe 25 pages per day over the weekend of Real Murders, which is my final owl book, and I will try and finish that the first on Tuesday next week, so that I finish it on the 30th of April. And I think it will be doable, but I haven't put the page count down on top of this, so we'll see how it ends up going. In total for this week, I hope to read 1,478 pages, which equals to about 211 pages per day. So it's a little higher than last week, but I generally think that when I have a weekday, I get through a lot more audio, and in that way I get through a lot more pages. And so I don't think it's going to be that big of a problem, and I only have The Calculating Stars being my main read, and then I have to read 15 pages of The Rook every day, and in total that'll leave me at 65 pages of reading a day over the next week, and I think I can manage that, hopefully. So yeah, these are all my plans for next week. Let me know in the comments down below if you've read any of the books that I've been talking about today, and whether you're close to finishing your owls, if you've been working on those. How's it going with that? And are you participating in other readathons? I know there's a lot of things going on. There's the Grinch-a-thon going on, which I've considered participating in, but I think it'll be next time I will try and jump in on that when I'm not focusing so much on the owls. This is all I had for you today. If you liked the video, please give it a thumbs up, subscribe to my channel if you haven't already, and I'll see you in my next video very soon. Goodbye!